Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Jennie, the LDS Mission Coach, and you are listening to the LDS Mission Podcast, episode number 149, When You Don't Feel Heard. I'm Jennie, the LDS Mission Coach, and whether you're preparing to serve a mission, currently serving, a returned missionary, or a missionary mama like me, I created this podcast just for you. Are you searching for epic confidence? Ready to love yourself and to learn the how of doing hard things? Then let's go. I will help you step powerfully into your potential and never question your purpose again. It's time to embrace yourself, embrace your mission, embrace your life, and embrace what's next. Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me today. What's going on? This weekend I'm going to be at my son's graduation at BYU. So that is super fun. My oldest son is graduating. And so it'll be fun to be there in Provo and celebrate him and what is going on in their lives. It's always such a fun, new chapter when you graduate. I know that for many of you, it probably feels scary and intimidating, I think, to just be like, oh my gosh, we could do whatever we want. But I keep encouraging him and his wife to just be like, trust yourselves. You guys know what's best. You get to create whatever you want. It's actually such a fun and exciting time. So I hope that if you are graduating this weekend, I don't know when any of the other schools are having their graduation, but it seems to be the season for college graduation. So congratulations. That is so exciting. Also, we are just getting the last little enrollment for Mission Prep Plus in May. So if you are interested in learning more about Mission Prep Plus, just send me an email, jennie@jenniedildine.com, and I can get you all of the information. It's incredible program for the cost of 1 month on the mission. You're set up for the rest of your mission and after. I really, really believe in our program and the amazing people that are working in there with me. And I feel like we're making a difference. It's just so fun. So a lot of people ask, well, is it videos? What is it? And it's actually you will be on a live call with me, with one of my coaches or one of my RM mentors, and any question goes. And so we're getting ready for our May group. I know there's a lot of you headed out this summer, so hop in there before it fills up. We'd love to see you. Okay, let's jump into when you don't feel heard. That is the topic of this episode. And I just recently, over the last couple weeks, have talked to a few missionaries whose senior companions have said, this is the way we're doing things. They don't really give their junior companion a say. They just kind of maybe ask their opinion and then just listen to their opinion and then kind of look down on it a little bit and judge it and be like, oh, silly junior companion, why would you think that? Which, is not useful. And I started thinking about then, what can we do about this? How can we, if we don't feel like we're being heard, why is that a problem? And then number two, what can we do about it in a respectful way that feels safe for the person that we're interacting with, but also feels safe and empowering for us. And so this could happen in a lot of different situations. Maybe you're post-mission and working in a company or something like that, and you just feel like you have ideas that don't, that kind of go unnoticed, that kind of get swept under the rug or skipped over, or maybe you were skipped over for a promotion, or maybe on the mission, you really think you would make a good trainer, but you so far haven't been a trainer. I think one of the problems as I was kind of mulling this over is that when we don't feel heard, okay, it starts to feel like you don't have a voice. And then when you don't feel like you have a voice, then it feels like you don't have a say in what's going on. And then when you feel like you don't have a say in what's going on, it can lead us to feeling like we aren't valued. And then when we kind of feel like we're not valued, then it can lead us to feeling quite isolated. And I think that there is something that we can do about this on the mission at all levels of leadership, whether you're just a trainer, a district leader, a sister training leader, a zone leader, a mission leader, mission president. I think even in our stakes and communities, we can do a better job of helping people feel heard so that they feel like they have a voice, so that they feel like they have some agency and say in what's going on their mission or in their ward or whatever it is, so that they feel valued and so that they don't feel isolated, that they feel included in the conversation. So in my family, we've started saying this little phrase to each other. You are safe, you are seen, you are loved. Now that might sound kind of cheesy, but I pick those words on purpose. It's kind of like a hierarchy of needs of what your lower brain or caveman brain and your body need. Okay, so first we have to feel safety. Okay, then we got to feel like we're being seen or heard, right? Feel like we have a voice or a say in what's going on for us. And then finally, once those two things are in place, we then are open to feeling love and allowing other people to experience love and feel love in our lives. We're open to God's love, okay, when we are safe, seen, and loved. And so it's so funny because my husband, when we first started saying it, he was like, you are safe, you are beautiful. And I'm like, nope, that's not it. He's like, you are seen, you are smart. And I'm like, nope, that's not it. I'd be like, you are safe, you are seen, you are loved. And so like every once in a while, one of my daughters is having a bad day. I just wrap them up in my arms and I say, you are safe. Like, this is a safe place for you. I see you or hear you, right? And you are loved regardless of where you're at. Okay? So I was just thinking, for whatever reason, this story keeps coming back to my mind in all kinds of instances, and maybe I've shared it before here. I know I shared it in Mission Prep Plus, is that I always think of the woman taken in adultery, right? The first thing I think this applies is Christ. He helped her know that she was safe, and he didn't even have to do that with words, right? And then he saw her. He got right down on her level and then offered her love. Okay? And those three things, I think, are what made the transformation for her, right? And so we can do this for other people. Now, what happens if we're not feeling safe, seen, and loved? What are some of the things we can do? Okay? What are the ways that we can have a voice and have a say and kind of make change in this area for ourselves? I have a few ideas, and I'm sure there's more. I just kind of jotted these down, but the first thing is to have your own back. Okay, so what I mean by this is just being proud of yourself for who you are and what you're doing. What I say to missionaries sometimes, I'm like, yo, listen, you're on a mission. That's a big deal. That's enough. Just be proud of that. And you don't even have to say it out loud. Like, if you're having a conversation with your companion or something, they're kind of coming at you. They're telling you that you don't have a voice or a say, and they're just going to, rule and not give you any voice about what's going to happen. I loved what I had a conversation with a missionary this week, and she was just like, in her mind, at first, she went straight to, maybe I'm wrong, that maybe the senior companion is right. And she's like, wait a second. But then I kind of thought about it, and she's like, maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe we just do things differently, and that's okay. I mean, I was so proud of her. I was like, that is such a mind shift to take ownership of your experience and be like, okay, this is her experience, my companion's experience, and this is my experience, and I am choosing my experience on purpose. Is that, yeah, I'm not wrong. I'm doing it the way that feels right to me, and I'm going to have my own back on that. And she didn't even have to say it out loud. She didn't have to go toe to toe with this companion or create a whole bunch of conflict. She just felt it for herself in her own brain and body and was like, I got my back. Maybe we do it just different. Okay, the second thing is I would encourage you, if it feels safe to do so, speak up. And what I mean by safe is decide if you are just emotionally, like actually worried that your emotions are in danger, or if that's just your brain kind of telling you that you shouldn't speak up because that doesn't feel safe. We don't want to create an environment for you where you speak up and then you just get like beat down again, for sure. So just, you kind of have to decide ahead of time, is this safe for me to do this? Or is it better to just kind of keep things to yourself, which is going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. So if it feels safe, sometimes I remember just recently, I felt like I wanted to say something. I wanted to advocate for myself in my ward. And I was just like, I'm just going to say it. And I'm going to say it in a loving way. And I'm going to ask for what I want. And so share what you want to say and the ways that you are seeing things. And it takes so much courage and vulnerability to do this, but just share where you're at and be honest. And again, we're not talking about attacking. We're not talking about going toe to toe. We're not saying like, here's all the things you're doing to make me feel this way. No, just like, I would really love it if, I could say once in a while what we're doing. Maybe I can take Tuesdays and you can take Wednesdays. Just ask for what you want. Again, if it feels safe to do so. Maybe it sounds like this. I'd really like to be able to share my ideas, right? I'd really like to be able to choose who's running the companionship study. I'd really like a turn running the companionship study. Okay, or maybe it's like, I actually had one missionary tell me that just recently the senior companion put a note on her bed and told her how crappy her Spanish was. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to go about that sort of a leadership position. And no hate towards this senior companion. She just didn't know better. She thought that was the best thing to do. But if you're interested in like some Christ-like leadership qualities, I do have a podcast that I recorded just recently about leadership. So that might be interesting. But maybe if something like that happens to you and you want to have your own back and it feels safe to do so, maybe you could say something like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for being interested in how my language is coming along. I feel a little bit insecure about it, but if I want your opinion about how I'm doing, I'm definitely going to ask for it. Okay. And then you can maybe even say like, I love you. And it's actually harder for me when you weigh in if I haven't asked. Okay. So again, only speak up if it feels like, first of all, anyone's going to be open enough to hear it. And second of all, if it feels emotionally safe to kind of say your piece without being attacked. Okay. The next thing, if it doesn't feel safe, just keep things to yourself. Sometimes your companion is not the person that you're going to want to share with. Sometimes you're going to have to find someone else to be vulnerable with, share your perspectives, share your ideas on. Like maybe it just needs to be your mom, right? Or your dad or whatever, or your sister or your brother, and just say, it kind of sucks to feel like, I'm not heard or I'm not seen by this senior companion. And your senior companion doesn't need to be the one. Maybe you can share your ideas with someone else. I would really love it if I could set a boundary here. Or I would love it if I could choose, where we're going street contacting or whatever. And just, you don't have to share that with the person because you don't want it to end up in like a toe-to-toe confrontation. Sometimes just keep it to yourself and share with someone else. Let's say you're newly married and there's a conflict there And maybe during a certain time, your husband isn't the person, or your wife is not the person that you want to share these like sensitive things with. If it doesn't feel safe, hopefully it does feel safe, but sometimes you just got to find someone else to kind of be that sounding board for you. The next thing I would recommend when you don't feel heard is, I find it so useful to see where the other person's lower brain is coming from. So most times when someone feels the need to control a situation or exert power over someone, they are just full of fear, right? So if we think about the senior companion who left the note on this missionary's bed, kind of attacking her language skills, my guess is that senior companion themselves was just feeling a lot of pressure and feeling a lot of fear themselves, okay? And so for me, when I understand where they're coming from, that it is just their lower brain, their amygdala probably in fear, it does give me a lot of compassion for them. And I can sometimes, like, if it feels like we're in a tug of rope with our companion, somehow when I'm in a conflict like that with someone and I see where they're coming from, it allows me to kind of drop that tug of war rope. And I can just say something like, oh my gosh, it's just human people doing human things. Okay. On the mission, we are about God's work for sure, right? Sharing God's love with people and Jesus Christ's love with people. But all of us are doing that in human form. Okay. And so that person, that senior companion, is just doing the best that they can with all of their experiences and all the emotions they're feeling. And totally you are too. And so sometimes I think it's useful to just be like, I see what their caveman brain is doing. Okay, the next one. When you don't feel heard, maybe be open to other ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. So sometimes I find this, like, our brain just wants to be right. And that's kind of when we like put up those walls and when we're like, I can't hear this. I don't even want to engage with this. And it feels like we have to defend ourselves and fight back. It's because our brains don't want to be wrong. None of us want to be wrong. And so we get in a little bit of like that tug of war with what someone is saying, right? And we're like, well, maybe they're right. And maybe I'm right. And maybe they're right. And maybe I'm right. And so I just like this idea of being open to other ways of thinking and feeling and doing. And I love what at the story that I shared with you at the beginning is we could even say maybe that would be a good way to go about our companionship study. But also I think there's this, right? And just saying, not just getting into this like rut where we're like, no, we are not doing it that way, right? Can you feel sort of how there's like that tug of war that starts to happen? Whereas versus we can be like, that's an interesting idea. We could maybe try that. Here's what I want to try. So just be open to that. When you're not feeling heard, the next thing is filter their perspective on you. You sometimes are going to have to be really intentional about what you're letting in and what you don't want to let in. Almost create like this buffer around yourself. So if your companion has words for you, a lot of critiques, and it feels a little bit controlling or demeaning, just create sort of this buffer. Actually, most of the time, people's perspective on you, and if they decide to share that with you, tells us about them. So this note that this senior companion left on this other missionary's bed, to me, tells me a lot about the senior companion. Like what kind of fear, what kind of pain, what kind of other experiences kind of caused her to take this certain action. So just like this missionary did, don't automatically take what someone is saying as like, yeah, that must be true. I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but I had one mom reach out and her daughter's companion had said to her, well, your efforts aren't acceptable before God. And this is the type of information that someone else's thought that they can share with you that I just want you to take a step back and filter Filter their perspective on you. Because in my mind, if someone's saying like, your efforts aren't acceptable before God, my guess is that senior companion worries a little bit that her efforts aren't acceptable before God. So just kind of put a little filter, a little screen when people are offering you sort of like their way or the highway, their perspective or no perspective. Just kind of put a little bit of like a buffer there in between before you decide to take what they are saying as like just the way you are. Okay, the most important thing about all of this is we can't wait around for other people or our companions or our district leaders to create safety for us. We can't wait for them to see us. We can't wait for other people to love us. Okay? Ideally, in an ideal world, everybody would understand how to create emotional safety, how to really see and hear and value people, and also how to love people. But that's just not the truth of the human experience, right? I've always find that hurt people, right? So most importantly, instead of waiting around to feel safe, seen, and loved, you got to do that for you, my friends. How can you create more of a safe place for you? Is that setting a boundary for yourself? Is that setting a boundary for someone else? Is that like, I refuse to say mean things about myself. I refuse to judge myself. How do we create more of a safe place for ourselves? How do you see you? Do you value you? Do you see you? My guess is that if you saw yourself clearly and saw yourself the way God sees you, or Heavenly Parents see you, that it wouldn't affect you as much when people don't see you, because you would see yourself and you would know that God sees you. Okay. And what about love? Do you love yourself right where you are? And this one's a little bit, I know when I say that on here, many of you are going to be like, no, I don't love me. There's something wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just your human brain. Half the time you're going to love yourself. Half the time you're going to think there's something wrong with you. Not a problem. But do you love all of that too? Do you love you right where you are? Just like Christ did with that woman in adultery. Can you be that for you? Can you create safety, see yourself, and love yourself right where you are? That, I think, is our most important work. Well, I shouldn't say most important, but that is some of our really important work on this planet, is how to create that for ourselves so that we can expand that circle of safety, hearing and seeing, and love for other people. So once we create it for ourselves, it's so much easier to expand that to other people. So don't go around waiting for people to validate you. Don't go around waiting for people to give you a voice or hear what you have to say or validate or value you or help you not feel isolated. That is your job. And people can help. I'm not saying that they can't infringe on that. I'm not saying that they can't affect you. They do many times in many experiences. But you do that for you first. You value you. You hear you. You see you. You create safety for you. You hear you. You love you. And then the rest of these things, these other kind of things that I've shared with you, will be easier. Okay, have your own back. If it feels safe to do so, speak up. If it doesn't feel safe to do so, keep things to yourself. See where their lower caveman brain is coming from. Most of the time it's about them. Be open to other ways of thinking and filter their perspective. Don't just take what people say as like, oh, that must just be automatically true about me. Most of the time it tells us something about them. All right, my friends. So I want you to know that here, I hope you feel safe. I hope you feel seen. I hope you feel loved. That is the way I want people to feel when they come and listen to this podcast. And I see you and I love you and I want to be here for you. So everyone have the most amazing week, and we will talk to you next time. Serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints can present a unique set of challenges, and many of those challenges you might not even see coming. So you're going to want a unique set of solutions. It's easier than you think to overcome worry and anxiety, serve the successful mission you've always dreamed of, and navigate your post-mission experience with confidence. That is why I created some amazing free goodies that I'm sharing in my show notes. Maybe you'll want to grab the free training for preparing missionaries, my video course for RMs, or maybe you and I should hop on a free strategy call. If you're ready to take your preparedness to serve or your preparedness to come home to the next level, then go grab one of those freebies. And in the meantime, no matter which part of the mission experience you are involved in, just know that Jennie, the LDS Mission Coach, is thinking about you every single day.